footage used in any of the Slasher Scotty videos, including the body count, the rankings, and the top 10 videos, are entirely owned by the copyright holders. Slasher Scotty makes no claim of ownership and simply uses the footage for purposes of education, commentary, and criticism under the Fair Use Act.
Welcome everyone to another episode of the Top 10. I am your host Slasher Scotty, and boy do I have a surprise for all of you. We have been discussing a lot of slasher movies lately, a lot of horror movies, recent 80s, maybe 70s here and there, 90s, 2000s and all that stuff, 2010s, but we're about to go old school. That's right, we are taking a dive way before the 60s. We are going to be diving into classic movie monsters. That's right, I'm not going to tell you examples because you're going to see that in the voiceover clips with the top 10. But before we go into more details about that and I let you go into seeing what the top 10 are, today's episode of the Top 10 and of Slasher Scotty is presented to you by RAZE Energy. RAZE Energy is an energy drink that will just keep you going and 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 going. Wait, you want me to stop? And going and going and going and going and going. Okay, I'll stop. And going and going and going. Okay. So RAZE will let you, get it. It'll let you get through the night if you have a lot of work, a lot of homework, whatever you have. So get your pick up your 6-pack, 12-pack, whatever pack of RAZE Energy, or any Red Sports memorabilia such as t-shirts and bulletproof phone cases and anything else that your little heart desires, or shall I say Slasher Heart's desires, and you can get 15% off your next order. And how do you do that? You put in Slasher Scotty in the coupon code, the promo code at checkout, and you get 15% off your next order. Pick up your copy of RAZE Energy and Red Sports memorabilia. Let me put that down right there. And of course, now time to get into some business stuff here. So subscribe to my channel. It takes a millisecond to do. You want to do it. Show me some love. It helps the YouTube algorithms to get me showing a little bit more. So please subscribe to me, as well as leave a comment if your top 10 varies. Do you like my order and it's the same as yours but just in a different order? Like it's just the same people, different order? Tell me which order you like it. Did I leave somebody off that you want on? Tell me who it is and why. I love your opinions, I value your opinions, and I want you to comment and tell me your opinions. Alright? Please do so. And on top of that, if you like this video, give it a like and hit that bell notification icon. Doing that is huge because you get updated on all of the videos that I upload right when they're uploaded, including interviews I conduct with celebrity guests, rankings videos, top 10s, body count, Slasher Scotty News, otherwise known as the SSN, and so much more. Please do it. Other than that, that's all I got, except for, you guessed it, the golden rule. The golden rule at this channel is this is my show, and so they're my personal opinions. They're gonna differ from yours. We're different people. It makes us different. It makes the world go around. Of course, don't kill me because these are my personal opinions. Just tell me why you disagree and what your rankings are. I value it, and I will comment back because that's what I do. I interact with my fans and followers and subscribers. That's it. That's all I got for you. Let's go and check out the classic movie monsters from the 20s, the 30s, the 40s, the 50s. I want to see them. You want to see them. Check out my top 10. See you back here soon before we reveal the number 1 spot. Here is number 10. See you soon, alright?
Number 10 is King Kong from the 1933 film of the same name. King Kong is an iconic and legendary movie monster of classic cinema that really paved the way of monsters in the forms of animals such as Godzilla and Mothra. King Kong is a giant gorilla that climbed the Empire State Building in New York City and abducts Anne. The ending is sad and tragic when Kong sets Anne down and the army airplanes open fire on Kong, where he is mortally wounded by their gunfire, falling from the Empire State Building to his death. Even though Kong put Anne in danger, I personally feel it is a sad and tragic story, which makes Kong an all-time classic in movie monster cinema, if you ask me. Number 9 is The Bride of Frankenstein from the 1935 film of the same name. Previously, we got Frankenstein himself, but why not give him a bride in a sequel? Created as a mate for the Frankenstein monster by Henry Frankenstein and his mentor Dr. Pretorius, the bride originally screams in horror after laying eyes upon the Frankenstein monster, which heartbreaks the monster. The Frankenstein monster, hurt about the bride's rejection, rampages through the castle to find the lever to destroy the castle. Shedding a tear as the bride hisses, the Frankenstein monster pulls the lever and destroys the laboratory and tower. In the following film, The Son of Frankenstein, it reveals that the Frankenstein monster survived the explosion while Dr. Pretorius and the bride had presumably died. Number 8 is The Phantom, from the 1925 film The Phantom of the Opera. The Phantom, named Eric. Eric had traveled to multiple countries, including France, Russia, Persia, and northern Vietnam, learning various arts and sciences from each region. His mother was also mortified by his birth deformity, and his father, a true master mason, never saw him. Eric, in the 1925 silent film, The Phantom of the Opera, is well, you guessed it, a phantom. In other words, a ghost, to some extent, as he's not an undead figure, just a deformed one, of the opera house who is the occupant of box number 5. One evening, the Phantom kidnapped Christine during her performance at the Opera House, and it was revealed that the Phantom, known as Eric, escaped as a prisoner from Devil's Island. A mob led by Simon infiltrates the Phantom's lair, and when the Phantom attempts to flee with Christine, Raoul saves her, and the mob throws the Phantom into the River Seine, where he perishes via drowning. Number 7 is Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde from the 1931 film of the same name. Dr. Jekyll is a kind English doctor in Victorian London who begins to experiment with drugs that he believes will unleash his evil side. After concocting these drugs, he transforms into a man by the name of Mr. Edward Hyde, who is an impulsive, violent, immoral man that indulges his every desire. Dr. Jekyll becomes aware that he cannot control his transformations into Mr. Hyde, and he ends up going to the Carew home and breaks off his engagement with his fiancée Morel. Morel starts crying, triggering another transformation, and Mr. Hyde beats Sir Denver, Morel's father, with Dr. Jekyll's walking stick. Lanyon recognizes the broken cane that was left at the crime scene, and the police go to Dr. Jekyll's home. Lanyon figures out that Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde are one in the same person, and this dress causes another transformation into Mr. Hyde, and after a fierce struggle, Mr. Hyde is shot by the police. As he's dying, he transforms back into Dr. Jekyll and dies. This is definitely a strange case, pun intended to the book of the same name. Absolutely impressive story with unique storytelling to drive these classic movie monsters in the same spot as a 2-for-1 deal. Number 6 is The Gilman from the 1954 black and white film The Creature from the Black Lagoon. The last known surviving member of a race of amphibious humanoids which flourished during the Devonian Age, the Gilman dwelled in a lagoon located in a largely unexplored area of the Amazon rainforest. The Gilman, also better and more known as the Creature, who apparently known to the natives as the captain of the boat Rita, mentioned local legends of a manfish. After having found the fossilized remains of another Gilman, a marine biology institute funds an expedition to the Amazon in order to find more remains. Though the Gilman reacts violently to the intrusion, he develops a soft spot for the team's only female member, Kay, and repeatedly tries to abduct her. After killing numerous members of the expedition, the Gilman takes Kay to his underwater lair, where he is tracked down by the remaining survivors and riddled with bullets. The Gilman tries to escape by swimming deep into the lagoon, however he dies from his injuries. This is such a classic tale that most are aware of, and the Gilman is an absolute classic antagonist from the golden era of cinema. Number 5 is Imhotep from the 1932 film The Mummy. The year is 1921, obviously a different year from the film's release date for plot purposes, and there is an archaeological expedition being led by Sir Joseph Wemple to find the mummy of an ancient Egyptian high priest named Imhotep. It was revealed that even though Imhotep was wrapped like a traditional mummy, he was actually buried alive. Also buried with Imhotep is a casket with a curse on it. Upon reading the words on the scroll of Thoth, Imhotep rises and shuffles off with the scroll after snapping Norton's mind and causing him to laugh hysterically. 10 years later, Imhotep is masquerading as a modern Egyptian named Ardath Bey and covering himself up with makeup. Imhotep's horrific death was revealed to be punishment for sacrilege by attempting to resurrect his forbidden lover, Princess Ankh-Sunamun. Ardath soon encounters Helen Grosvenor, who is half Egyptian and is believed by Ardath to be the reincarnated form of his forbidden lover. His intentions are to mummify her, resurrect her, and finally make her his immortal bride. Helen is rescued and prays to the goddess Isis to come to her aid, where an emission of flash sets the scroll of Thoth on fire, breaking the spell of Imhotep's immortality, and it causes him to crumble into dust. Such a scary story based on the mythological and ancient history of Egypt and their mummification process, and it makes for a killer classic. Number 4 is Dr. Jack Griffin from the 1933 film The Invisible Man. Dr. Griffin is a chemist that discovered the secret of invisibility while conducting a series of tests involving an obscure drug called monocrane. Griffin forces Kemp to become his visible partner in a plot to dominate the world through a reign of terror, commencing a few murders here and there. Griffin angrily attacks and kills an officer that is conducting a police inquiry at his laboratory. A late-season snowstorm forces Griffin to seek shelter in a barn where he falls asleep and is discovered, to an extent, by a farmer who hears snoring and sees the hay he's sleeping on move. He notifies the police, and the police set the barn on fire, where Griffin then leaves, leaving traces of footprints in the snow. The police open fire, mortally wounding Griffin. He is taken to the hospital where, hours later, a surgeon informs Dr. Cranley that Griffin is dying and is asking to see Flora. On his deathbed, he admits to Flora that he meddled in things that the man just must leave alone. As he dies, his body quickly becomes visible again. Number 3 is Larry Talbot from the 1941 film The Wolfman. Larry Talbot returns to his ancestral home in Wales to reconcile with his father, Sir John Talbot. He had left for America 18 years earlier when his elderly brother was made heir to the estate. However, has returned following his brother's death in a hunting accident. Larry becomes romantically involved with an antique shop owner named Gwen. Larry attempts to rescue Gwen's friend, Jenny, from what he believes to be a sudden attack by a wolf. He kills the beast, but is bitten in the process. He soon discovers that it was not just a wolf, but it was a werewolf, and now he has become one himself. A gypsy fortune teller reveals to Larry that the animal which bit him was actually her son Bella, in the form of a wolf. He has been a werewolf for years, and now the curse of lycanthropy has been passed on to Larry. Larry transforms into a wolf and prowls the countryside, committing several murders in his wolf form and terrorizing the village. After struggling unsuccessfully to overcome the curse, he is finally bludgeoned to death by his father, who does not recognize him with his own walking stick. As he dies, he returns back into his human form. Such a tragic yet classic tale, and is an absolute gem to divulge. Number 2 is the Frankenstein monster from the 1931 film Frankenstein. Henry Frankenstein and his assistant Fritz pieced together a human body. Some of the body parts are from freshly buried bodies, and some of the bodies of recently hanged criminals. In a laboratory he's built inside a watchtower, Henry desires to create a human and giving this body life through electronical devices. Yet he needs a brain for his creation. At a nearby school, Henry sends Fritz to steal a healthy brain from his former teacher, Dr. Waldman's class. He accidentally damages the brain, thus corrupting it. The creature is then eventually brought to life during a lightning storm. With a long story short, the Frankenstein monster escaped his dungeon, and the villagers form a search party to capture him after it was revealed that a young girl was killed by the Frankenstein monster via drowning. The monster knocks Henry unconscious and carries him to an old mill. The peasants hear his cries and find the Frankenstein monster has climbed to the top and dragged Henry with him. The monster hurls the scientist to the ground, and his fall was broken by the vanes of the windmill, thus saving his life. Some of the villagers bring him home while the rest of the mob set the windmill ablaze, with the Frankenstein monster trapped inside. This is a scary yet sad tale based on Mary Shelley's book of the same name because of the Frankenstein monster originally and initially being childlike innocence, and that eventually turned him into an angry killer due to fear and defense. This is one of my favorite classics, but the number one spot coming up is my all-time favorite classic, which we'll be getting into very, very soon.
Woohoo! Yeah! We counted down the top 9, and we have one more to go. Ow! But before we get into that one, we have some honorable mentions. Movie monsters that just didn't make the list because they weren't as good as the top 10. They weren't good enough to make the list, but they were good enough for a simple shout out. So I'll see you back here once we count it down number 1. Check out some non-voiceover clips of the top 10, of the ones that didn't make the top 10. They're not voiced over by me, some clips, but I think you're going to enjoy them. See you back here right after we count down the number 1 spot.
I'll soon be rid of my torture, rid of it, and I'll be the sanest man who ever lived. Now, I have a pleasant surprise.
Number 1 is Count Dracula from the 1931 film Dracula. Count Dracula lives in his castle in Transylvania, and he is a vampire. Dracula transforms into a bat, sucks blood, vampire stuff. After attacking Renfield, he acts out in all sorts of outlandish ways, such as being obsessed with eating flies and spiders. Professor Van Helsing analyzes Renfield's blood and discovers his obsession. Later in the night, Dracula visits Dr. Seward's daughter while she sleeps in her bedroom and bites her neck. Van Helsing notices that Dracula doesn't have a reflection in a mirror as well when he visits him, and Van Helsing realizes that Dracula is in fact a vampire that has been behind the recent tragedies unfolding. Dracula attempts to hypnotize Van Helsing, who withdraws a crucifix from his coat, which forces Dracula to retreat. Dracula later hypnotizes Briggs into removing the wolfsbane from Mina's neck and opening the windows. Van Helsing and Harker see Renfield heading for Carfax Abbey. They see Dracula with Mina in the abbey. When Harker shouts to Mina, the Count thinks that Renfield has led them there and he kills him. Dracula is hunted by Van Helsing and Harker, who knows that Dracula is forced to sleep in his coffin during daylight, and that the sun is rising. Van Helsing prepares a wooden stake while Harker searches for Mina. Van Helsing impales Dracula through the heart, killing him, and Mina returns back to normal. This is a classic story of supernatural horror and is one of my all-time favorites, and it is a legendary classic of the golden age of cinema. Bela Lugosi portrayed Count Dracula with perfection and is his most well-known role, so much so that he was buried in his Dracula cape when he died. Iconic film that is loved by millions of horror fans worldwide, which absolutely makes this a no-brainer to put as the number 1 spot in this top 10 ranking.
We just counted down. Not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4. Wait, you want me to get to 10 already? Not 5, 6, 7, 8, not 10. We just counted on 10. 10. We just counted down the top 10. Yeah, I can't believe it. That's so cool. We counted down the top 10, and of course, the top 10 that we counted down were nothing that we'd done before. These are classic movie monsters that most likely, and 9 times out of 10, were black and white films. This is so cool. I grew up on these films. No, I wasn't born in the 20s and 30s, but I grew up watching these films. I loved all of them. Even the Abbott and Costello series, which weren't on the list or in the honorable mentions, because they were pretty much the same movie monsters. But I loved all of these movies. And I'm glad you got to enjoy the top 10 with me. But did you agree? Did you disagree? Let me know in the comments below, and we will discuss, our rankings together. Give me a like if you like what you saw, and hit that bell notification icon, and you know you want to. And of course, classic movie monsters, they're not slashers. They're not slashers at all. What they are, though, is getting a little bit of slasher added to them, because I'm Slasher Scotty, and we need to add some slasher into this mix, and it is his house! So, slash that subscribe button. Show me some love. You know you want to. That's all I got here. Thank you all for joining me for another Top 10 video. I'm Slasher Scotty, and I have been your host for these Top 10 classic movie monsters. I will see you next time. Be good people.